5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Can you hear it?
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to the Rideshare Zone, where every ride matters. And now, here is your host, Shawn, the Colorado Rideshare Guy.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Rideshare Zone, episode number 13. And believe me, it feels like lucky number 13, but here we are. We got this going. Forgot to turn a light on, so I got a nice little shaded area because I've been running to get this done. Maybe my producer will run in and turn the light on for me. We'll see what happens. But anyway, all right. So we made it to 13 episodes, guys. It's going to be 21 episodes before we know it. So thanks to everyone that's come in, and we will get you get you in the chat here for 1 second. Woo, that's hot. Maybe it'll tone down. If not, may have to have that shut off here for a second. Anyway, all right. Yeah, let's go ahead and shut that light off. It's a little too. OBS is mad at it. OBS has been giving me all kinds of problems tonight. Lucky number 13, absolutely, Bubba Sue. So we're gonna do this like Steve and do it in the dark and kind of see how things go. And welcome in, Amy. Welcome in, Bubba Sue. Rideshare Rodeo. What's up, Steve? And then Twin Pines Studio, of course. Chris Porter. Oh, you guys must have been listening to a little bit of Chris Porter. Cool. There was already a fun little person, huh? So, thank you, Steve, for taking care of that. All right, let's see here. Let's go. Welcome to the 13th episode. Let's get into this, guys. What else do we got to do? Hopefully everything works. Did a ton of last minute changes. Steve, I got, as much as you hate StreamYard, I think I need to talk to you about StreamYard because I got to figure out something else. This is happening way too often, having these little video issues. So anyway, here we go. Where are we going to start off with, guys? Of course, my favorite subject and yours. All right, well, at least mine. But dark in the light in public. All right. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Appreciate the support and help there, brother. All right. So good old Waymo, they're up to their normal little antics. And I don't know if anybody saw this one, but we're gonna jump into a video here, and they're running in Atlanta now. And guess what? Well, we'll let the video speak for itself. Somebody immediately tell me if we have audio on this.
Did the shit we did within the egg. We got 3 Waymos that think the light fucking red. Look at this shit. This fucking. We can't even get around this shit. Car right there. We can't even goddamn move, bro. We cannot move, bro. Man. The Waymos think the light red, bro. You supposed to yield to this shit. Man.
There you go. Are any of you surprised by what you're seeing there? I'm not. I'm sure the rest of you that are in here aren't either, because we've all seen this 100 times. Now Atlanta gets to increase their traffic problems because now they're letting the stupid Waymos run around. Yeah, the problem is, Steve, they don't know what a red light means. So they don't know what a red light on a bus means. They don't know what a red flashing light on a stop sign is. And that's what happened with this. I don't know if y'all noticed it, other than trying to figure out why there's three Waymos at the starting line. And ready to go, and it looked like one was kind of trying to breach the barrier a little bit and get a head start on the others. But so the traffic lights were out, and they're just flashing red. And that's kind of one of those basic driving school things that probably a lot of people that never even had a driver's license know what you do when the traffic lights are out and blinking red. But freaking Waymo doesn't. How can you not put basic programming into your Waymos on that? So no wonder why Waymo doesn't want to show up and be held accountable in Austin. So moving on away from Atlanta, let's go down to Austin, where they've been running around causing a shit show over there. So Waymo in Atlanta, Waymo in Atlanta, they'll be next. Waymo in Austin doesn't want to show up for a public meeting to discuss the blocked EMS video. Now, I know I showed this previously, but for some of you that may have not seen this video or don't understand the severity of this was during a, quote, active shooter. There was someone that had been shot, and EMS was trying to get in there. Thank God nobody got dead. Once again, Waymo got really lucky. But this is what happened.
Waymo, come on! Go! Go! More! Oh, fuck. I mean, he's not gonna go any further.
Anyway, we've all seen enough of that one right now. No way, Waymo. So Waymo doesn't want to show up to the public hearings, and they have all kinds of nice little canned statements that they say. Yeah, Waymo drift cars coming 2027. I wish they'd drift off of Pikes Peak, Steve. Maybe they'll put them in the next uphill race in July. But anyway, so in the Waymo spokesperson said the company, and this is now to Austin, the Waymo said the company's already had the substantive conversations like moments call for, including with Austin City Council members and more than 15 officials in the highest levels of state government. I don't think the freaking governor was there. So how can you say the highest level or I don't even think I don't think the governor was there, Waymo. So how can you say the highest officials? Do you just create your own authority and make these weird little statements? And city council requested you attend this public meeting. So clearly they had other questions that they wanted to answer. And doesn't the public have a right to make you accountable for what's going on in Austin and all that as well? No. We'll just wait until some kid gets dead, and then you can be held in court and have a public trial, and then your little Waymo cars won't go anywhere. So let's see. What does Steve say? Of course, they don't want to be in Austin for that. Yeah, Steve. I mean, come on. I mean, and I know you talk about this a little bit on yours. This is something we got to make people aware of what's going on. That's why I decided, even though you talk about it, Steve, is that I want to bring it up too and hash it out now. And maybe I don't remember, see, look on here when the meeting is, but it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that meeting. And, what did Waymo miss because of their arrogance and, ignoring city council members? I mean, believe me, I've worked with a lot of city council members that I didn't like either, and a few mayors on some topics. But you know what? You still have to have those tough discussions, and they should have to have the accountability as well and participate in those tough discussions. And yeah, exactly. How are they not required to show up? Well, because of it being a public hearing, they don't have to. And I've been part of other public hearings and other different things, and some of them can be really, really rough. I worked with a developer one time, and they had 3 nights of public opinion about a development being proposed in an area that's very anti-government and very anti-growth. And the CEO of that land development company sat there for 3 nights being called everything in the book, literally being cussed and screamed at and yelled at. But you know what? He had the guts to sit in front of some of the meanest MFers in Colorado and take his licks. And, and it also helped them have a better understanding about what the community really, why they feel that way. And so it helped them strategically to be able to, number one, overcome what they needed to get the project done. But it also helped them to be able to get a little bit of respect from the community. And Waymo, why don't you do that? Because you don't give a shit about the community. That's what that tells me, and I think that's what that tells everybody there. So, yeah, Steve, I mean, they should pull their license, if you ask me. I mean, they should suspend their operating authority down there. And if they don't have they think they're so above being able to be held accountable or even just have a conversation with the public. Yes, I know there's 2 million people, in the greater 2.1 in the greater Austin area. That's a lot of people to have a conversation with, and not all of them are going to show up. And even if they do have to carry it over for several days, Waymo, suck it up. Maybe you'll learn something from this, and maybe be a little humbled by it. So, anyway. Let's see. What did Bubba Sue say? I say if they don't show, then they should revoke their privilege. Yep, absolutely, Bubba Sue. 100% spot on. And they're not going to show up because they don't care. They're above the law, and hopefully they do. I mean, this is one of those things. Again, this is why, even though, it's been discussed, I want to put my words in on it. Just like the public has a right to put their words in on it about Waymo, but Waymo doesn't care. So, Austin people, I'm sorry Waymo doesn't give a crap about you. So, let's see here. What other stupid things did they have to say about that? Oh, in the briefings, we answered all questions related to the event and emergency response protocols, and provided a detailed and confidential overview of the event, including lessons learned and planned future operational improvements to Waymo emergency response procedures and capabilities. Well, why don't you share that with everybody else? It's not super secret squirrel shit that, we'll give awesome first responders the ability to do whatever they need to do to get these vehicles out of the way in a situation like that, and we won't hold them. We'll hold them harmless from any of it. So, great point, Steve. Steve in the chat said Waymo would say, "Why should we have to show up or be responsible? There's no driver." Well, they could have got a plane ticket for their watch guardian, whatever, the supervisor that's in the Philippines, and had them come out, and they could sit there quietly because they probably don't. I'm going to assume that it's not a high level paying job, so this person may not even speak English, so they might just be able to pleasantly sit there and get a free trip to the United States and have some great Tex-Mex food and hop over to San Antonio, go hang out at the Riverwalk and go see the Alamo and things like that. So, see, Waymo, you missed an opportunity for a little bit of public outreach right there. Could have been handled much better. But yeah, Steve, no driver, no accountability. That's the Waymo way. Okay. Are we done with Waymo for now? I think we're done with Waymo for this episode. Let's see what we got here next. Robotaxi. We haven't really talked about Robotaxi. We've talked about Tesla a whole lot, but Tesla's pretty aggressive with their program. They did make an announcement, and I'm not going to cover it in here, where it sounds like they're probably in their earnings announcement where they're going to probably back off with some of the cities that they're looking to go into things. But I finally found some interesting statistics that kind of will help the drivers gauge what's really going on in the autonomous world, because I have some pricing at the end of this little segment that we'll talk about. But so the other interesting thing is so Tesla Robotaxi has been running for, or cyber taxi, whatever they're calling it today, is going on over a year old, and they have not been available. If you had an Android phone, they weren't available to be used on the that you couldn't download an app. Weren't on the Google Play Store. They were only on the iOS version. So the iOS version launched in September 2025, and so that's getting fairly close to, I mean, okay, it's not quite a year, but you launched in September 2025, and you didn't have an Android app at the same time. I guess you were so busy fixing all those FSD problems that you kind of had to put all that aside, and nobody uses an Apple phone anyway, so then you're mitigating your risk. But that way, okay, I'm not kidding, there's tons of Apple users. All you Apple users, don't beat me up. Gosh, I can hear the hate comments coming both on the podcast and my YouTube stream. You know what, actually go ahead and post hate comments, because at least I get views and helps. Any news is good news, right? Is that how that goes? Anyway, so yeah, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. It's a really, really short train tonight, guys. Bear with me. So the app arrived on April 24th, just a few days ago, and then that's when Tesla expanded their service from Austin also to Dallas and Houston. So they must find that there's a lot more Android users in Dallas and Houston, so they need to get that out. Now, I don't understand the timing of it. I just think it's kind of weird anyway. But so we have Tesla. Their Robotaxi service is currently in Austin, Dallas, Houston, and then Houston, interestingly enough, they have a very small footprint that they work in. They're geofenced down to around 12 to 15 square miles. And for you Houston people, I don't know where this is, but Houston is huge. Somebody could look up and tell me how many the metro Houston area is, but it's huge. It's a state within itself. But wherever the Jersey Village and Willowbrook areas are, is to where they're confined to be able to operate. And they are operating with drivers, so they're not going full FSD mode without drivers in them. In Dallas, they get a little bigger footprint. They get about 30 to 35 miles, so that's probably in one of the burbs as well, instead of down in the heart of Dallas or anywhere. It's probably out between Dallas and Houston, somewhere like that, or Fort Worth, I'm sorry. So who knows? They're still plugging along, going forward. They've been operating since June of 2025 in Austin, and they have roughly 40 vehicles that are active, is what the article stated. And there are about a dozen of them. Again, this is in Austin. About a dozen of them that they claim are operating fully driverless. Now, and these I think are Model Ys, if I remember what they were originally launching out with. So anyway, we spent a lot of time talking about Waymo, and Waymo gets in the way of talking about some of the other autonomous services that are coming out there. And Tesla is obviously very aggressive about trying to get things done. And so from a pricing model standpoint, that the Dallas runs, the the Tesla rep that they interviewed for this article said the Dow's runs at a $3 base fare. So it's about like the DoorDash $2 no tip orders, or Lyft, $3. What was that one you had the other day, Steve? $3.40, whatever that short ride you had with that guy was, and then plus $1.40 a mile. So they clearly believe their operating expenses are going to be a lot less than having a human driver, because they're taking the full fare on that. So that's probably a pretty reasonable thing when you figure from a rate card perspective that you'd have your base fare, your $1.40. It doesn't say anything about wait time, so they'll be avoiding all the wait time. Colorado, we get a whole 12 cents a minute waiting, so $7.80 an hour to sit around and wait for somebody. So we're really proud to have that extra money in our pockets. But anyway, and then the Austin is a little bit higher. It runs at $325 for the base fare, and then but only $1 per mile on the rest of it. So that'll be interesting to see as this platform grows what the pricing looks like, and are they going to try and buy their way into the markets like Waymo has done. Here it looks like they're right now, just because they're working in such small operating areas, that they are going to be doing the smaller trips, and that's going to be the focus for them, which makes sense. Then they say the service operates daily starting at 6 a.m. I don't know what the cutoff time is. It didn't state that. So is it midnight? Is it after dark? We certainly know these things can't handle inclement weather. Either the Teslas and the Waymos both struggle with that in two different technologies, one using cameras, one using LiDAR. So that's kind of the little update that I found, dug into a little bit on the Robotaxi stuff. We'll go back to seeing what's going on with FSD and all that later on in there. But so let's see here. Our next segment. So DoorDash, guys, I don't know if you knew this, but there's a new competitor with DoorDash. They have a new delivery partner. I think this is in upstate New York, a new delivery partner, and they don't accept tips. And here's a little bit about this new delivery partner.
Exciting news from the Austin Police Department. Starting today, we have partnered with DoorDash to provide speedy food delivery right to your door. This partnership makes sense since our officers are already on the road. It'll save on gas, and since our officers won't be accepting tips, it should help your wallet too. While we can't make guarantees, most deliveries should arrive within minutes of your order being ready. We do apologize in advance if the cheese on your pizza shifts a little during delivery. Our officers can't take those turns pretty quickly. So if a patrol car pulls up outside your home, don't be alarmed. It's just your food arriving hot and ready to enjoy. Austin Police and DoorDash, protecting, serving, and now delivering door to door.
Okay. Did y'all get the audio on that at all? No one seemed to tell me whether there was no audio, so I'm going to assume you got audio. But anyway, that was just a fun little video. No, cops aren't going to be delivering your DoorDash. So we can only hope, right? But that actually wouldn't be bad. But I could see, Steve, I bet you Denver's going to try and do that with DPD now. They're going to start making them deliver everybody's DoorDash with it. But they make some great service points. They're already on the road. The police department's going to save a little bit on fuel, because it'll help increase patrols in neighborhoods where a lot of times it's hard to get a cop to do an increased patrol. And some of these areas that DoorDash gets delivered to frequently, wouldn't be a bad idea to have a cop. But you probably have a SWAT team show up, so that's probably going to be a whole nother problem. So Steve said, I can't believe how many officers arrest dashers and deliver food. My tax dollars do not go to supplementing DoorDash. I thought it was protect and serve. Hey, they're protecting my food from getting cold. So back off. Okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Steve. It's a horrible waste of funds to do something like that. I don't know what the heck they're thinking about, but anyway, I think a lot of it's just kind of a goodwill thing. I mean, from a community policing standpoint, come on, man, you got to relax a little bit, Steve. I mean, cops get a really bad shake as it is. I wouldn't mind paying the extra time for a cop every once in a while to go deliver somebody's DoorDash if they're, it's good community policing. But yes, I know, because believe me, dude, there's a whole lot of other waste that goes on in these communities, but anyway, this is going to get really interesting, these next two guys, and I meant to do a kind of a stick around and listen to it thing, because there are two rideshare bills I want to talk about that are, Virginia just started a new one, and this is kind of hokey. Okay, so we had the one in Colorado, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that last year failed miserably. The governor vetoed it. It didn't fail through the House and Senate, but it still ended up getting vetoed, and Uber said they were going to leave, yada, yada, yada. So Virginia has put out their own rideshare safety law, and this has more to do with two different things. One was screening, and then platform safeguards. So there were two bills that just got signed into law. First one was House Bill 1469, and it was democratically authored, and expands on how the background checks are conducted, and they require drivers disclose prior addresses that they've lived in since they were 18 years old. I've not lived a whole lot of places since I've been 18, but geez, I'd have to do a little bit of freaking thinking to come up with a couple of the addresses, I think. And, I'm old as freaking dirt. So how's that going to be useful? Because back whenever I was 18, shit, everything was kept paper record anyway. I guarantee all that hasn't been transferred over. And if I did something stupid when I was 18, it was because I was 18. I didn't. Well, I did some things, but nothing that would probably get me banned other than driving at the time, when I was 18. But so are they going to hold a background check so when I was 17, we'll just say I was 18 at the time, I got pulled over doing 120 and a 55 on a brand new highway that was built. Are they going to go back and now say that, I wouldn't be eligible to drive? Well, number one, the record's not there. And number two, as is going on in the chat, exactly, Steve, tell them to ask Checker. We went through all this crap in a couple of previous episodes that I did, and talked about Checker extensively. That was like way back into, I feel like a seasoned podcaster now. It's like, back in episode 3. Anyway, and I think it was like that far back. So that was one of my initiatives, and, and still is, about rideshare safety. And this bill doesn't make it these new laws aren't going to improve anything. And I'll get to proving my point here without even reading the bills, just a statement from somebody. So anyway, they said that they're going to give the riders the option to record or audio or video during trips and establish civil penalties for violations. What kind of violations? So Uber and Lyft already have this available. And House Bill 1469, so we talk about the background checks, and then again, audio and video recording, and restricts account sharing among drivers, and it's a misdemeanor if they share their account now. Oh yeah, all this is going to stop it. Stop these things from happening, because we know once you turn something into a law, all crime ceases in regard to that law that was written. Freaking break. So, guess what? Uber said it supported the legislation and worked with state officials on the changes. It's a bad law when Uber says they support it and they help make the changes. That's Virginia. Oh my gosh. Virginia, are you on the crack train, or what were you thinking? So furthermore, Uber says by making these standards effective this July, Virginia is sending a clear message that safety cannot wait. Says Levita Gardner, a policy manager at Uber. Policy manager. They didn't even get Hannah, the head of safety and security for Uber, to give him a quote. They had to go to a policy manager. That means somebody probably pushes documents out to my phone and tells me I gotta look at it. So anyway, there you go, guys. Guess what? Virginia cares about your safety for shit that Uber and Lyft already have available on their platforms. But don't share your account. You'll get a misdemeanor. We don't want any misdemeanors. That'll go on your permanent record. Anyway, okay. Now something big, guys. Okay, so we remember last year, Colorado House Bill 261424 was introduced. Last year, House Bill 251291 was introduced, and then it failed, got vetoed, yada, yada, yada. We've been through that. Not going to even get into it. It had a whole bunch of stuff that was not feasible. Well, guess what? As I just released, there was a new bill introduced yesterday by Jenny Wilford, House Bill 261424, that seeks to increase the requirements of background checks, set timelines for how companies respond to complaints, and provide more opportunities to record rides. So they're going to force recording a ride on the device, is what that's going to come down to. Is what the bill has. So, guys, this bill came out. It just got pushed out. This sucker is 26 pages long. I only had time to skim through a couple of articles. I have not dug into the meat of this. We're going to dig into the meat of this, and it's either going to be, this is enough for an entire freaking episode. So 26 pages of Jenny Wilford and her second go around of trying to make rideshare safer for everybody. Steve, we got to see if we can get her on the show on one of our Thursday nights. That's the bottom line with this. She keeps coming forth. She ignored me, but sent a message through other people about the HB 261273, the take rate, the cap bill that's in place. And so I don't know, Steve, let's have a little conversation, see, strategize about getting her on there, and see if we can get her on the show and talk about this, because, she's clearly intent. That's what she wants to do. But now they're going to force audio and video recording, which is going to be what it is. It's going to be stored on my phone. Well, guess what? That sucker's old and well overdue. So you're going to load up my phone that's already bordering on capacity all the time to put recordings on there that are encrypted that I don't have any freaking access to. No, I completely highly oppose that. That's bullcrap. Yes, Bubba Sue, she's the one that claimed that she was sexually assaulted. And again, and she's still in her lawsuit with Lyft, by the way. It's so because of all that, there's not a lot of public records to find out really what the allegations are. The allegations were that, that someone was borrowing, that it was a borrowed account, and that, the owner of the account was like, oh, we didn't know that, this and that. Never anything came up whether the person that went after her had any priors, or if they were a citizen, or what any of that did. But she's also the person that's trying to protect undocumented immigrants, undocumented, whatever we call them, whatever we're supposed to call them in Colorado now. So anyway, so last year they vetoed it. So now she comes back with a softer one. It does have a lot more sponsors on this bill than it did before, from both the House and the Senate. So this thing's going to pass, guys, and we'll have to see what the governor does with it and what Uber and Lyft have to say with it. Interesting thing is, Driver Co-op Colorado does not have the ability in their current app to be able to record on the devices. So, Drivers Co-op Colorado, do you support your little buddy Jenny Wilford now? Now that she's running you over and you're going to have to spend at least a couple $100,000. I don't know. I'm not a developer, but I know that's going to be pretty expensive to develop. So now your little friend, she got what she wanted out of you, and now she's throwing you under the bus for that. So why don't you go lobby against her on this one, guys? Because the co-op's going to be gone if they have to invest in this kind of technology. Now, and these are from articles, so I could be wrong. Maybe she's back to dash cams again. Me having 5 dash cams on my freaking car. That's not a safety hazard or anything, and going to cause issues potentially with my car, particularly battery drain and everything. But anyway, I digress. Let me look into these 26 pages, see really what's going on, not just from some news articles, because we know the media has a tendency, either inadvertently or intentionally, to twist the facts. So we'll see what's going on with it. The other additional things that were in the couple of articles, I found that there's private background checks for drivers every 6 months. Every 6 months, they want to do background checks. And they're supposed to be paid for by the rideshare company. Drivers Co-op Colorado, can you afford to do that for your drivers? Again, she just threw you under the bus with no regard. So, good job, Jenny. You're putting a little cooperative out of business. I hope you're happy. But the rideshare companies, who's going to pay for that? The drivers and the passengers are going to pay for it. The rideshare companies aren't going to pay for it. We get into that even about, right? Why didn't I put that one in there about Lyft? Oh, I took that one out. So I was worried I was going to run out of time, but maybe I should have thrown it in there for now. But anyway, it is what it is. We always have too much to talk about. And so anyway, so they now have to do the background checks every 6 months, according to these news articles. Sure, that's exactly it anyway. They have to create a process to share between companies, between companies regarding deactivated drivers. Now, is this permanently deactivated or is this under suspension? Because now she's trying to put a driver that may have got a false accusation and waiting through the appeals process. And as we know, CIDU now is going to get completely buried. They can't handle hardly the workload that they have. They're finally coming out, they're covering stuff that happened 6 months ago. They're finally getting cases moving. So good job, Jenny. Now they're going to get people that are deactivated on one platform. They're going to be forced to be deactivated on another platform. And in the spirit of what you have and what this says, and I hope the bill has much better language supporting this, but sharing information, I believe in sharing information, but you need to make sure that information is sound, not some false accusation by some son of a bitch that wanted a free ride, which we see happen a whole lot. Now, probably 80%, I'm just throwing a number out, not a real statistic, guys, of those people do think that they probably did something wrong. At least that's my opinion. I mean, even when I got falsely accused and deactivated off of both platforms, I did something wrong. I made a smart ass comment, and then they retaliated with BS false statements against me. So almost every time a driver gets deactivated, there's a reason behind it that you could probably say the driver had some kind of involvement. Is it enough worth deactivation? No. I should get a little, got a little 1 star and said I wasn't polite to some idiot that didn't want to show up on time for their ride. And that was in both cases, not get deactivated by both platforms just because I told them, sorry, you didn't show up in time. Now you got to catch the next one. That's literally what happened to me on both the incidents. And I had to get the last word in. Well, I thought I was going to last word in, but they did, because they wouldn't file false reports against me. One claimed that I ran their foot over, and another one claimed that I was racist. Anybody knows me knows that's not a true statement. And if I ran that lady's foot over, I would have backed over it again, because just to make sure I did it right. I mean, why would anybody do something that stupid? And that one got really ugly. And that's what got me into this whole mess of doing this podcasting thing, coming on to Steve's Live and talking about it. But no, I'm really glad that it's taken me down this journey. So no harm, no foul. But so we're gonna dig in 26 pages. I'm gonna see what's going on. I'll decide whether I want to break it up and talk about it a couple of podcasts. Am I going to do a video? I'll probably do at least a video on it pretty soon, because this is like breaking. Just happened, just dropped yesterday, guys. Just got introduced, so we'll see if it gets it'll get shoved through and where it goes from there. So anyway, back to this. So the TNCs, the rideshare companies, must respond to subpoena or search warrant related to a complaint within 72 hours. Now, that I got a problem with somebody who used to be involved with investigations like this. And then on the corporate side, you have to give a respondent plenty of time to respond to it. Now, if you just want a name of somebody, okay, that's one thing. But if you want to try and start pulling, forensic data and things like that, 72 hours isn't always reasonable. Now, it does say they have to respond. So again, define respond. So something else I'm going to have to dig into with this and see exactly what that means, what that looks like. So it's got quite a bit going on in chat. Let's take a break here from that and look and see what's going on with the chat. Steve has some very, very strong things to say about Representative Wilford. So we'll no need background checks. Yeah, exactly. It's going to kill drivers. Yeah, rideshare seems to be a bit more, than delivering a hot dog. What's up, Torb? How you doing, brother? When I started reading the comment, I didn't read who it was coming from, but then when I got to the rideshare seems to be a bit more anal than delivering hot dogs, I knew exactly who it was. Is there more money in it? It depends. So that's a whole nother episode for another time, and maybe we could talk about that on Steve's. But Yeah, the answer is that it depends. And some people, I can't go hauling 30 cases of water up 3 flights of stairs, so I started doing more rideshare, and I figured out how to, make the apps work for me, Torp. But some people, they struggle with it, and I think right now with the fuel prices, I think everybody's feeling the squeeze on it. So, but yeah, I mean, there's then doing the $2 no tip DoorDash orders. Yeah, you can all day long, and you're typically not sitting around killing yourself going through those. Now, it depends on depends on your market also, Torp. I think there's probably some markets where you'd say I'd rather go do some catering orders with Expedite and go make at least as much money. So, all right. All right. So now back over to this. So we talked about the companies have to respond within 72 hours. We'll dig into that one. So both riders and drivers must opt into audio and video recording of a ride. Both riders and drivers. So we'll see what happens with that. Why do maybe I can use just my single dash cam. I haven't read this, so maybe I'm being a little presumptive, but I just know what was in the last one, and so I don't see her yielding that much to people, and tried to get her to have a discussion about rideshare and about the rideshare safety, and she didn't respond to me. So she apparently knows everything, not a guy that's done over 12,000 rides and has access to thousands of other people that have had way more experience than even me. There's a lot of people out there that have way more experience than I do. But a couple of experience with my corporate safety and security, and then doing this, it's just ridiculous. She doesn't reach out to experts, but when you're the smartest person in the room, you don't have to. So let's see. The companies must submit an annual report to the legislator, attorney general, and and the PUC, which, by the way, I'll mention something about the PUC in a second. PUC on a range of data such as the number of sexual assaults, verbal threats, physical threats, and harassment. Okay, how's that working out for just general reporting? So, I in any business or just in life in general, how often did these things get reported to law enforcement anyway? It's not going to increase the amount of. The best way to do that is to make your passengers and your drivers feel comfortable and safe in an environment where they feel they can report it. And a lot of this is not the answer. I think this is better than the last one. I think on the surface it looks like. We'll see what happens when we start digging into it. But you can't even spell yield. So there we go, guys. That's big freaking news for Colorado. We have so many legislative things going on affecting rideshare and food delivery. I didn't even get a chance to follow up and see where the no napkin bill's going right now. It's still out there. There was the AI bill, which apparently I couldn't get a confirmation from somebody that was saying that it did, but there was the where they won't be able to use AI for dynamic pricing guides. A lot of it was originally with the retail places like Walmart, how they're now they got caught doing some dynamic pricing and so on and so forth. But allegedly, it's now reached over to the rideshare side of it too. So a lot of big things going on in Colorado legislative-wise. I'll get my act together. Probably next week, might bore the hell out of you guys with a whole lot of legislative stuff. And but it's really important because, as we talked about with Virginia, whatever they got going there that Uber supported, it's coming to to a state near you or to your state at that point. So let's see. Let's go back over to chat, see if there's anything worth telling the podcast people about here. So Torp said that seems to be more complaints from rideshare drivers on YouTube. Also, my local news has been running a lot of rideshare drivers live about the problems they're going through. Yeah, share those with us, Torp. We'd love to take a look at them. So shoot those over to us. Let us know what's going on there, because I love finding stuff from other states and be able to talk about those as well. Not be completely Colorado centric, but we have so much stuff that's going on that's affecting the rest of the country. We'll see what's going on. See if I want to go into this one. I think I'm going to skip this one for now. I was going to talk about Block, a new rideshare company in New York City, but that one gets really complicated and down in the weeds. Just got done blowing through 2 new legislative things, so we don't need to get into talking about blockchain and what that is, but it's really interesting. I'll skip over the blockchain part of it and what that, the crypto world that a lot of these new apps are riding within. I'm going to skip that part, but because I find it really interesting that there's so many new, I do and I don't find it interesting. There's so many new rideshare companies coming to New York City. Of course, we had Empower, the drunken cowboys that think, the guy thinks he can run however the hell he wants and not get his operating authority in New York City. I think he's learned. I haven't seen a whole lot of noise about that one. So I think once they told him we're going to throw you in jail too if you keep this up, like they threatened to in Washington D.C. So I think they're pulling back a little bit. But we have Tada that I talked about last week, which had partnered up with Drivers Co-op Colorado to learn how to operate in the U.S. And now they're launching in New York City. And then we also have Block, BLOC, which can talk about blockchain. They're a Brooklyn-based rideshare startup. Now, they don't have their operating authority yet. They're still kind of getting everything going, but they do have the wait list they're building. They're going to be another one of those subscription-based, like Tada's doing, saying you pay X number of dollars. Well, Tada's not a subscription. They're going to be a per ride fee. Still kind of the same model, just a different flavor of it. But they're going to be doing a subscription-based model, charge you a monthly fee. They promise to the customers no surge pricing. So we'll see how well that works out. But are they going to keep drivers, just like Drivers Co-op Colorado says, well, we don't do surge pricing. They do dynamic pricing, by the way, which we could talk about someday, guys, that they don't tell riders about. So they don't have a single rate. They've got multiple rates, but they're promising no surge pricing. But the problem is when you have a model like that and you have drivers that do like Uber and Lyft also, then they're going to run to where the surge is, and you can't compete with that. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that one and overcome it, to be able to keep the drivers on the platform, because that's one thing Drivers Co-op really struggled with, is when it was surging, as to how to keep drivers on their platform instead of taking Uber and Lyft rides. So it's just a reality of it. So they charge the drivers a flat subscription fee, and then before they accept a trip, they see what the exact fare is up front. And I think they're going to be able to see a map of where it's going. So like we have in Colorado, kind of a transparency. A lot of states don't have that. So they're selling a big transparency model here to the drivers. The interesting thing is that they say when the ride ends, every cent lands in your account. Okay, this is where I was going to get into the whole crypto and blockchain thing. Because later on it says, and this is all from their website, it says weekly direct deposit, the weekly direct bank deposit. So are they holding on to the driver's money for an entire week? Are they not being able to do an immediate cash out? Because if so, then that makes a whole lot of sense about the blockchain thing, and even like Uber and Lyft and DoorDash having their Crimson card. With that money sitting in their bank account, they're pulling all the interest out of that, and that's, yes, only maybe a penny or two a day, but you take that out and take every single one of those transactions and all the drivers and all the gig workers, taking all that money that's just sitting there and they're getting to draw all that interest on, that equates to a lot of money, guys. So maybe it's just sitting in a crypto account and they're betting and playing with your money on a crypto account. I don't know for sure. It wasn't well defined. I couldn't find a terms of service to look into it, but they're looking not only to go into New York, they've already got heavily promoted on their website a wait list for Miami, Florida. And then after Miami, they're looking to go to LA, Chicago, Houston, Atlanta, Dallas, and Phoenix. So they got big dreams, and it's going to be interesting to see, watching them and Tada chase one another and see who's going after what markets next. So far, Tada's in the lead with trying to come in New York City. They've already got their base operating authority is what Kay Wu said, the founder of Tada. So that's kind of it. All right, guys, we're gonna do one more here real quick, maybe two more. See how this all goes, but we're gonna move on to Uber. Hold on, real quick before we do that. Their Hum rideshare is expanded also, now in Florida, California, and Idaho. So in a nutshell, all the rideshare drivers are stating they're only doing short rides to keep their profits up, and Uber is penalizing them for it. So let's see. Torp says, Channel 9 WCPO Cincinnati. Yep. All right. Yeah, man. Love to see what's going on in there, Torp. So, yeah, I'm not familiar with Hum rideshare, and it's capital H, capital U, capital M. It says that it's a subscription-based rideshare that provides commercial insurance if you can do private rides. So they provide the commercial insurance, or you still have to provide the commercial insurance, Steve? Because that's kind of the entry point with New York City that makes it so appealing for all these companies, is that they're required to have their own commercial rideshare commercial insurance to do rideshare. So that's where a lot of these other markets where we don't see that. Now, I know in California, there's an option for being able to do something with Uber if you have your own commercial insurance that a lot of drivers take advantage of. And so let's see. Bubba Sue says they provide the commercial insurance. Interesting. I'm going to have to dig into that one. Luber, yeah, the Lyft Uber thing. So let's move on. While we're talking about Uber, this one's crazy. I didn't find a video on it. Wish I could have. This one could have been fun if there was a video on it. So a South Florida woman was arrested after she was accused of snorting coke in a Uber driver's car before attacking the driver. And I'm sorry to laugh about this, but there was no reported injuries by the Uber driver. Before you think I'm just completely sick, guys, okay? I'm not that. I have empathy, but yes, I'm short on sympathy, guys. Let's just roll with it. Learning a lot, y'all. Thank you, Torp. I appreciate that, man. So don't do, Torp, while you're at it, don't do coke in your Uber ride while you're learning stuff. Just a side note. Anyway, because Cynthia Beckford was arrested on April 8th. Okay, now, this is kind of the interesting thing on it. Besides this being an old, an old article that's finally just coming out, but she had charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. We'll get to what that deadly weapon was second. Battery and criminal mischief. So didn't get a drug charge. So I guess she got rid of the evidence. And so the driver said that the lady got in her car and started complaining about the air conditioning being too hot. So that would be lack of air conditioning, not the air conditioning being too hot. But anyway, she complained about the air conditioning and then started snorting a white powdery substance believed to be cocaine. So apparently the driver did not test the substance, so we don't know for sure if it was. Probably a good thing the driver didn't do that, boys and girls. There's another pro tip for you, Torp. Don't try your passenger's Coke. It'll put you out of service for a while. So details of button. I'm not reading that one either, Steve. All right, so anyway, so she apparently did, after she got in there, snorted her Coke, that she took a pin. Probably the pin was for her Coke, and said, "I'm going to stick it in your head," expletive. Then she started punching him with her other hand. Didn't want to drop her Coke stick. And then reportedly did $4,500 worth of damage to the vehicle. It was a Cadillac CTX, or is, whatever. But, and yeah, they went to her house and arrested her for that one. But the interesting thing is, anyway, a lot of time passed between the reported date and then when she was arrested. So anyway, she was booked into jail and then later bonded out. So you're punched. It's been a long day. Don't mind me. Who are we talking about now? Let's see. Oh, you can do. You can. I did not know that, Bubba Sue. Thanks for the information on that. All right, we got to do one more, guys, because we always open with Waymo, and so we got to close out this thing with one other thing. I hope it works, but anyway, who do you think we're going to go talk about, Steve? Come on, your favorite subject. Dun 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 dun. Yep, there we go. There's a picture. No, it's not an AI picture. Before you say that, of Joby taking a test flight in Lower Manhattan. So, and I think I'm just gonna walk away and let the chat go for a while. You guys are having a lot of fun over there. I'm trying to do a damn show. Anyway, hey, Steve, do I have your attention yet? Probably not. You guys are busy doing whatever you got going on over there. But as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters to me, guys. I appreciate you coming in. So let's see here. What else do we got? Can you see that? You see what that is? That is not a drone, boys and girls. That is aircraft N545JX. And interesting thing really about this is, so they're at a heliport owned by a company called Blade doing this demonstration. And yep, they're out there cruising along, doing their test flights. They did a really nice picturesque video and this and that. I'll probably troll Steve with it a little bit. And flight to your death. No, it's not. So, interesting thing. Okay, so there's the six rotors on that Sue. Each one of those rotors are powered by 2 motors. So if one motor fails, it still has another motor to run on. They've got redundancy in it. And supposedly what they report is that if two of the props fail, then they can still fly the aircraft safely. And so, or did I say 4? 6. Anyway, it has 6 propellers. So let's see, where did you get that footage? That's Torb, where did you get that? So there's a lot of safety factors that are built into these things, and it's going to be basically, again, what I said their target audience was the Uber Black and and the limo rides. And the thing is, they can cut this down to 7 minutes going between Manhattan and JFK. So, which can take freaking hours depending on the time of day, with just being able to get through there. So a 7-minute flight for a couple $100 going to Lower Manhattan, where the money is down there, I think it's a great option for them. And so they did these test flights from a company by the name of Blade Helicopters, and they're expected to operate within those same routes. Now, why did they choose that? Why did they do that? Because Joby acquired Blade helicopters. So what they're going to do is they will eventually replace all the Blade helicopters, and they will be using the eVTOLs so they bought out their competition. And the thing is, they can run them cheaper, so the flights will cost less than all the Blade customers. So once they get these things approved, they're going to be running in New York City, and they immediately have business. So, Steve, I think we're going to have to spice this up a little more, and we're going to have to get you a Joby hat that you'll have to wear along with all this other stuff. Ride for free. Got to be extremely rich to ride in those. Well, extremely rich is, it's a relative. There's a whole lot of, people that do have that kind of money, Sue, and they use it regularly. Corp says, and have a death wish. Well, okay, so look at Ocean Gate. There was a whole bunch of people that went on a freaking sub that they shouldn't have even thought about going on, over and over and over. And then the thing finally imploded, and, a bunch of rich people got dead on that. So they're not risk adverse just because they have money. Some people are really just have no aversion to risk and do that. So you got to take that completely out of the equation. And a lot of these people, they have so much money and that they're looking for some kind of new thrill. And they certainly want to be showing up at the Olympics, in their eVTOL instead of going through some stupid little limo. So these things are happening, guys. It's going to happen way before the Olympics. And Steve says he wants to talk about scuba tomorrow night. He has pictures. I think you mean Thursday night, right, Steve? I know you said it was a long day. We're not doing something tomorrow, are we? Oh my gosh. I hope not. So, yeah, these things are cruising along, flying along. They're on the edge of getting approval. They're doing test flights right now. This is way more aggressive than, yes, Steve, everything that was going in 2018 to 2020. There's legitimate investors, Honda, Toyota, General Motors. United Airlines is partnered up with, I think it's Archer. And so, guys, this is happening. The Jetsons are coming, Sue. Jetsons are coming, Steve. With that, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 13. We made it through it. We will see you for episode 14. Don't forget to smash that like button before you step out. Throw some comments in afterwards, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And for the podcast people, you can get me on CO Ride Guy. And for the YouTube people that like listening to podcasts, catch me on the Rideshare Zone on all the podcast platforms. Until Thursday, we'll see you Thursday with Steve, and come back and watch us 8 p.m. Eastern time. Till then, y'all be safe. Have a great night. Later.